Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to something a little bit different. Today we are going to be reacting to my original predictions that I did at the start of the season. We've hit the halfway point now. It's been quite an unpredictable first half of the campaign, but it's time to reflect and embarrass myself a little bit. A little bit of an embarrassment will be coming my way. Let me know in the comment section down below. Am I right to get some of these wrong? Did I sort of have quite good intentions, or was I wrong from the beginning? Please do let me know. Do leave a like as well and subscribe. Lots of different content coming your way over the Christmas period. It's good to be back, and I think when I come back, we get to create some different pieces of content, which, like this, hopefully is quite enjoyable. Like you say, show your support, and join the Discord server as well. League One chat all of the time. Join that link in the description. Fan callings will be coming back very, very soon. Like I said, got a little bit more time now, so they are really enjoyable, and that's the place to be. By the way, if you want to see my revised predictions, let's get this video to 100 likes, and I'll do that. Let's get into it. Let's start off in 24th, where I predicted Morecambe. And Morecambe are currently 24th, so far so good. One of, I was going to say quite a few. I'm okay in terms of comparing my predictions to how I've done in previous years. And of course, this is only the halfway point. We'll be doing it again at the end of the season. This is actually one that's fairly good. With Morecambe, I mean, they are rock bottom after 21 games. They've only won 2 games from 21. And I'll be honest, I was never fully convinced by Morecambe. I know it's easy to say now that I've got them spot on so far when predicting the League One table, but I was worried about Morecambe. I was worried about that squad. I think I said it at the time, quite harsh at the time, after they have just stayed in the league after that promotion a couple of seasons ago. But I said this is probably a League Two squad that's got to find a way of staying in League One through probably playing a very, very tedious style of play, having to play with quite a low block, be quite difficult to beat, use that high energy if that is in that squad, which I think it probably is. But I then look at the players like Cole Stockton, and I mean, when I did this prediction, I didn't think Cole Stockton would be in the type of form that he is at the moment. Pretty horrendous form. I thought that even with a fully fit, firing Cole Stockton, they had a chance. A striker who scored 1 goal, I think 17 games this season, is absolutely horrendous. He was a talisman last year. He's not performing this season. And that gives them no chance, unfortunately. I think when you have someone that was so good last season, be nowhere near as good this year, you simply are fighting an uphill battle every single week. And, I mean, their output of 17 goals is just not good enough. They're conceding way too many. But 2 wins from 21. They've drawn a couple. I mean, they've drawn 9 out of 21, but they've lost 10. They don't look great, and I think they probably will be down. By the way, if you want to see my revised predictions, let's get this video to 100 likes, and I'll do that. But I think with Morecambe, it probably will be quite a similar position come the end of the season. So, next up then, I went with Port Vale in 23rd. This one, back to reality, back to traditional predictions that don't go very well for myself. 11 places wrong with Port Vale. They're 11 places higher than I predicted, and fair play to them. They really are proving me wrong, and again, I remember a Port Vale fan said in the comment section, I'll try and find it and put it on the screen if I can. But they said that they've got a really good chance, and I didn't really buy into it, to be honest with you. To be quite frank, I didn't. I thought that squad wasn't good enough to stay in the league. I thought they would struggle. They were quite late doing their business, if I remember correctly. They waited until sort of the last sort of couple of weeks before the start of the campaign, but the players they did bring in clearly have gone down very, very well. And I think they're playing a really, really good style of play at the moment. And I mean, I'm 11 places wrong at this point in the season. And I think I probably will be something like that come the end of the year, because they're definitely not going to get relegated. They're definitely not going to be in a relegation battle. They are going to be continuing to surprise teams with a really attractive style of play. And they're going to be, I think, in and around the mid-table positions again. Like I say, I'm not going to give them a prediction because that's a separate video, but I think when reacting to how I thought at the start and how I think now, they've surprised people. They've surprised teams with some of the results they've got this season as well. Fair play to Port Vale. I got that one very, very wrong. So I got Exeter next. 9 places wrong with that one. I tried to sort of go with the trend of teams that got promoted are going to come straight back down. And with Exeter, I got that one wrong as well. I got them 22nd in my prediction. I'm 9 places wrong, similar to Port Vale, actually having quite a similar season. Both teams got promoted. Both teams are staying in the league, it looks like, fairly comfortably. 13th for the moment, Exeter. And 7 wins from 22. They look like a really, really quality side. And like Port Vale as well, there is a bit of similarity there. I hope you don't mind me using that similarity, but I think there is one there. They are surprising teams, and I love that trio of Giovanni Brown, Stansfield, and Nombe. That sort of front three trio is working really, really well. I think they've got a really well-balanced squad there. They're really well-structured. They haven't had it easy. With obviously Matt Taylor leaving the football club midway through the campaign. He's somebody that was, a bit of a legend at Exeter as a player, but also as a manager as well. Got them into League One originally, and then for him then to go to Rotherham in the Championship, it was a step up for him. But it did leave Exeter in quite a difficult situation, and so far, I think Exeter have come out of this really, really well, and they're exciting. They are really, really exciting. They're putting in a really, really promising campaign back in League One, and similar again, they are surprising teams. They're a bit of a banana skin for certain clubs. Recent form doesn't look as amazing as it has done, but I think they're still going to be okay. And my prediction, which is what we're doing right now, reacting to the predictions, I'm getting that wrong so far. 9 places wrong. They are surprising me and shutting me right up. So fair play, Exeter. They're doing a really good job, but they really, really are. Right, next up then, the final team I predicted to get relegated at the start of the campaign was Cheltenham. And I'm 4 places off there. Again, I've really, really underestimated the last 3 clubs, and Cheltenham not as bad. 11 places with Port Vale, 9 for Exeter, only 4 for Cheltenham. It's still not great, but it's probably one of my best, which says quite a lot about the predictions coming up and the ones we've already seen. They're currently 17th, and a couple of weeks ago, I'd have been spot on with this prediction. I would have been absolutely spot on. They were sort of hovering around the relegation areas. They're hovering around sort of 19th and 21st, and they're not safe as sound now. They're definitely not guaranteed, but the recent weeks they really, really have improved, and they're putting in these performances that not many people thought they'd get. It looked like it was going to be the end of Wade Elliott's tenure, which seemed very, very premature, but he was not getting results. And again, there was a lot of change at Cheltenham, and that's when prediction came from. I think I was really worried about them losing Will Boyle, really worried about them losing their manager as well, Michael Duff, who went to League One divisional rivals Barnsley, and I was really quite sceptical to sort of see where that was going to go and whether or not that was going to be enough for them to stay in the league. I went with them to not, and so far, they had a really turgid sort of first part of this first half, and they have slowly turned it around. I think Wade Elliott is now trying to get a level of improvement in that squad after what looked like it was going to be the end of him. They got knocked out of the FA Cup by the lowest ranked team in the competition. It looked that hit rock bottom. That felt like rock bottom. But there has been a level of improvement, and they've made it very difficult for sides to sort of break them down recently. And I think they've tried to restructure things. They've sort of gone back to basics. What do we need to do? Well, we need to defensively improve. They are doing that, and I think small building blocks. There is a level of improvement there. So I've got that one fairly wrong, to be honest with you. 4 places above where I predicted them. Cheltenham, you might still go down, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be as convincing as I first predicted. Right, so Forest Green I got just to stay in the league in 20th, and I think that was a little bit blindsided by the fact that they had brought quite a few names into the club. But they'd also lost some big names as well, and I think maybe the latter could be the reason why they are struggling. They're currently 21st, the first team that I actually predicted to come higher than they currently are, which, other than Morecambe, which was, again, spot on. 20th, Forest Green, currently 21st. That's not a bad prediction. And they might stay up. I'm a little bit worried, but they have shown a level of improvement recently. They're only 1 point off Cambridge and Accrington, who are currently the teams just outside the relegation zone. So we are seeing an improvement with Forest Green. They looked a little bit down and out. A couple of weeks ago, but we are now maybe seeing a little bit similar to Cheltenham. Difficult to beat. Again, individually, I'm still not fully convinced. I think they really, really are worrying individually. They're not convincing, but I think as a team, they are now getting it a little bit more. They are getting a little bit more difficult to break down. They're a bit more of a unit. They weren't well organised. They're really well organised. And similar to Wade Elliott, Ian Birch looked like he was going to be thrown out the door very prematurely. Maybe now we're seeing a little bit of change and a little bit of belief maybe in that squad. So, yeah, I didn't get it completely wrong there. I predicted them to finish a little bit harder than they currently are. They might still do that. But, yeah, I'm not too worried about Forest Green. I got that prediction okay. So, Shrewsbury I got in 19th. Now, I'm not quite sure why I did this. This might have been an early prediction, but I remember saying quite often I was quite impressed by Shrewsbury's transfer business, which does surprise why I've put them in 19th and nearly get relegated. I'm 8 places wrong with that one, which is not very good. Shrewsbury currently 11th, and like I say with their business, I always thought they actually had quite a good window. They're bringing in players that maybe were sort of hovering on that sort of League One Championship border, which is always a nice place to be and always a nice recruitment pool to fish in, especially in the summer windows. And I don't really know why I did that. They had quite a weird first half, really quite inconsistent, not doing great, and there's a few murmurs of discontent there, but they have started to pick up now. They're currently 11th, like I say, just in that top half of the table. I don't think they're going to be worrying about top 6, but I think they are going to be sort of in that top 10 potentially, and definitely put a push in for top 10. They have been quite an aggressive side. They have been quite a difficult side to break down, which is quite a few teams that I've actually put around this area, and they have been really well organised. I like the additions of Shea Dunkley and many others. I think they are improving. They've been hovering around 19th for quite a few seasons. Maybe that's where I lean towards with the prediction I did right at the start. But they really have improved, and they are now looking like a side that you've got to watch out for. Similar to Accrington, actually, a couple of years ago when they were sort of hovering around top 10. They remind me of them a little bit. And if they can build on that and they can improve year on year and sort of see it as a bit of a long-term project and sort of go, right, top 10 this season, let's recruit similar to what we did last time again, then absolutely, who knows? I'm quite encouraged by Shrewsbury in the way that sort of clear plan is looking at the moment, but they have got it quite well. They've got a really good manager in Steve Cotcher as well. I think he's I think he's a really, really good gaffer, so he knows what he's doing and he's well experienced. So yeah, I got that one wrong. I was 8 places wrong with Shrewsbury. I underestimated you. I can only apologise. So I got Cambridge in 18th. I expected a drop off. I expected not second season syndrome to a sort of dramatic extent, but I expected them to fall off, to sort of see a bit of a downgrade in the way that they were performing, because in that first season I was blown away. I thought they had a really good manager in Mark Bonner, which I still do. I thought they had a really, really talented squad there. I thought the players that they had at their disposal. Ironside was really impressing me. Sam Smith was in top form in League One. Irondale, who's gone to Bolton, which I always knew was going to be quite a big miss, and I think we probably are seeing that at the moment with Cambridge. And that's what I mean. I did see a little bit of a drop off there, and there has been a drop off. I got that 2 places wrong. They're currently 20th. They're currently only a point from the bottom 4, which will be a problem, and that'll be something that Mark Bonner has got to sit down and improve at the moment. Started the season really, really well. I thought I'd got it shockingly wrong again. I thought that they might be able to go again, and I don't know about them going forward, about them staying in the league. Again, that's for a separate video. I'm not fully convinced that Cambridge, they're in a bit of a rut at the moment. They need to get themselves out of it. I still back that what they've got there, but 12 defeats from 21 is really, really worrying, and that is obviously like almost half of the games they've lost this season. They've only won 6. They haven't drawn many. They've either lost or they've won. They haven't really drawn many, and they're losing too many at the moment, 12 in total. They're conceding too many goals. That's a problem. 32 goals conceded, and they did that last season, but I remember saying it in a recent episode, it's okay to concede if you're scoring a lot of goals, and last season they got away with that. This year, they're not scoring as many, only 19. Sam Smith isn't in the same type of form. Ironside isn't the same type of form, and these players aren't hitting the back of the net to the rate and the amount they did last year. And if you're going to concede the same amount and maybe even more, you're going to find yourself into a whole lot of bother, and maybe that's where Cambridge find themselves at the moment. I got that one quite wrong. Well, not entirely wrong, only 2 places, but yeah, I'm a little bit worried with Cambridge. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the second half of the season. First half, it's been challenging for sure. So next, then I got Burton, and yeah, I didn't do great with that one. I didn't do great. Currently 23rd in the league. I thought they'd finish 17th. I am 6 places wrong. I should have been a bit more brutal at the start of the season, I think, when I did these predictions. When it comes to Burton, I was sort of bought into this Jimmy Phil Hasselbank project that he was doing. I was bought into him, I think, as a really talented manager. I think what he did a couple of seasons ago, that real quite impressive. It was extremely impressive revival, or should I say survival. And I sort of was buying into that. And then look at that squad now, and look at that squad even at the start of the season. I never should have been that confident. I think he was working with his hands tied behind his back, and in the end, he's now lost his job and he's left, resigned or sacked. I don't think it even matters. Either way, I don't think he was fully convinced of what was going on there. We always knew with Burton, and he always would know this, he's not going to be working on the biggest budget, he's not going to have the biggest resources, and maybe this season we've seen, I look at Burton, I look at Morecambe, I look at Forest Green, MCANs are a little bit of an exception, that bottom 4. These are sides that are with their limited resources, and maybe they're getting found out a little bit, and found out's quite a tough way of putting it, but I think maybe the limited resources, the challenges that come with that, maybe are catching them up. It's definitely not 100% that. I look at sides like, Oxford haven't got the biggest budget, Fleetwood haven't got the biggest resources, Cheltenham are sort of similar, and Accrington, and they're not in the bottom 4. But I think Burton are quite struggling with that. Jimmy Ford Hasselbank struggled with it. He's now gone. They lost some really key players. I can't pronounce his name. Is it Adiemi, that they're sort of striker? It's not Adiemi. He's a player playing for Leipzig, I think. But is it Adiemi or something like that? He's gone to Ipswich and he did that at the start of the season. I know who I mean. I just can't say his name. He went at sort of the end of the summer transfer window, and losing him, he was really the focal point, and him going was a real problem. Yeah, I got that one wrong. I thought Burton had enough, but absolutely not. And I think they probably will go down. I got that 6 places wrong. I put them 6 places higher than they currently are. So, Bristol Rovers, I got in 16th. They're currently 9th. So, I'm 7 places wrong with that one, which isn't very good, is it? It's not very good. And their recent form, Bristol Rovers, is really, really impressive. They're unbeaten in their last 5. They won 8 from 22. They've only lost 7 games. They've drawn 7 as well. They're scoring goals. They're conceding maybe a few, but they are getting away with the fact they're getting some really good results. And they're so close. I mean, that whole league table is really close. They're only 3 places off the top 6. And Joe Barton is now, I think, dreaming with this Rovers side. He's dreaming. I think he's daring to dream. I think he's sort of saying to these players, he's saying to his players, look, this is so open. If you get a good run, we could finish in places that we didn't even imagine. And this season was always about staying in the league. I think that was always about staying in the division, staying in League One. Don't get relegated again. Don't get back down there. We worked so hard to sort of get back into League One after sort of an unbelievable final day against Scunthorpe in League Two. Let's just stay in the league. Let's just sort of relax a little bit there, sort of stabilise ourselves, and then go again. But I think it's so open that they're smelling blood a little bit, and they're going like, we can actually take this league by storm. We can take this league and we can actually run with it. And at the moment, it's working really well. 31 points. Like I say, only 3 places off, 4 places, 3 points off 6th in Derby. They're doing really well. And I'm excited by that. Collins is an exceptional talent in that front 3, or that sort of diamond 3 they've got. Triangle, isn't it? Triangle 3. And I think with lots of other players as well, Anthony Evans behind them, lots of others. I couldn't keep naming the entire Rovers side, but what they've got going on there is something quite cool. So I got that one wrong. 7 places wrong. I always thought they'd be fine, but they're doing better than fine. So fair play to them. I got that one wrong though. I apologise, Bristol Rovers fans. At the halfway point of the season, I haven't got you right, have I? So next up, I had Lincoln City in 15th, and I mean, I'm taking this as a little bit of a win. Only 1 place wrong. They're currently 14th in the league, and Lincoln are... I didn't really know what I was going to get with Lincoln. I think I was a little bit in the dark with that one. Mark Kennedy came in, Michael Appleton had sort of been sacked, change of the guard, and it was sort of this very different time. They lost some quite key players. Anthony Scully left the Championship, and a few of these players that I hadn't really fully heard of came in. Mark Kennedy, I hadn't really heard of him either. I didn't really know what we were going to see from Lincoln. It was either going to work really well or really badly. I think it's worked fairly well. There's certainly areas they need to improve on. They need to work on beating teams lower than them in the league table, which should be straightforward, but Lincoln are proving isn't. And actually, we all know it's not. I think complacency maybe can kick in. But they're also definitely punching above their weight, and they love going to grounds above them in the league, home or away, really, and putting in a really quite fearless performance, and that's why we've sort of seen them around top 10 at points during the campaign. They're currently 14th. They have dropped off in recent weeks, and that is because certain results, they lost to Shrewsbury, I think, who were a little lower than them at the time. They weren't, they need to sort that out. But I think generally, I look at that Lincoln side, and they are sort of trying to be this maybe underdog sneaking in. They're trying to be them, and Bristol Rovers at the moment are doing a really good job, and even Port Vale and Exeter, who we've already spoken about, are also doing that really well. But they're sort of creeping. They're going behind under the radar a little bit, and sort of sneaking their way through, and they maybe can sneak into that top 10. I think top 6 could be a little bit of a stretch too far, but generally they're encouraging. I think you look at the plan at Lincoln, Mark Kennedy has come in, and there clearly is a plan there. He's clearly sort of trying to work out exactly what he wants to try and do. I think so far there's certain signs of him doing that, and you can clearly see season on season they definitely need to improve in those certain positions, and recruitment will be a factor of that. But I like Lincoln. They're on the road to sort of where they were a couple of seasons ago, and that can only be a really encouraging thing. So fair play to them. I got that one fairly okay. 15th I predicted, currently 14th, and who knows where they could be at the end of the season. So next to them, Accrington. I got them 14th. They're currently 19th, so not great, Accrington. You're letting me down a little bit. 5 places lower than I predicted. I think, again, I was buying into sort of like Accrington Stanley, John Coleman type of mentality, where even when you look at the squad and go, I'm not entirely convinced, I still think they're going to do it because it's Accrington and they do it every single year. They are the banana skin of League One. I've nicknamed them that, and it has weirdly stuck. And it's only seen as a positive. It is only seen as a positive because, again, with limited resources, not the biggest of budgets, not the biggest of fan bases, if we're being totally honest, and that does play a part with revenue. Not the biggest expectation either. I mean, a lot of expectation is always, maybe internally there is, but externally, never massive noise made about Accrington. And once again, they are doing okay. Not to the level of I thought they would do, and not to the level maybe that they have done in previous years. And I am a little bit concerned by them. They're only not in the relegation zone by a single point. I still think they're going to be fine, though. Last 2 games have been sort of back to where they sort of have been in the last couple of seasons in Sky Bet League One. I don't see them get relegated. I think they will be fine. I trust the intelligence of Sean McConville, the experience of Sean McConville, and John Coleman, the 2 of those. I back those 2. Those 2 will get them far. They have done in the last couple of seasons, and I expect that again. So, yeah, I think they're going to be okay, Accrington. I think there's a little bit of worry there. Recent form at one point was horrendous, and 5 straight defeats, but I think they'll get their way through it. They'll steer that ship through. I think they could be fine, but they let me down a little bit with their prediction. They won't be as high, I don't think, as 14th, where I got them at the start of the campaign. So Fleetwood up next, and I got them 13th in my prediction. They're currently 16th, so 3 places wrong with that. But I've been quite impressed with Fleetwood. I have been quite impressed. I think I bought into the Scott Brown thing right at the start of the campaign. A lot of people didn't. I saw some pretty harsh predictions at the start of the campaign. I saw a lot of relegation predictions coming towards Fleetwood. But I thought, I don't mind it. I don't mind a fresh, new era at that football club. I also liked some of the recruitment they were doing. I liked Wiradu coming in. I liked Josh Earl coming at the back and lots of others. Vale came into that football club, which I thought was a really good pickup. I didn't mind what I was seeing. I thought this could be a side that won't be worrying about top 6. I don't think they'll be worrying about top 10. But I think they're going to be absolutely okay in mid-table, and they're going to use it as a building block. I think what we've seen is pretty much that. I mean, the season before, they only just stayed in the league. I think it was by goal difference or by a single point. It was so close, so tight. It wasn't a very good season whatsoever. They needed a change, and they got that change. And this is definitely a season to work with. They have drawn way too many games. They only won 5 games, which is pretty horrendous. When you look at the actual winning to losing ratio, it's not great. It's the same amount as MK Dons, who are currently in the bottom 4, who have not been very good. And 5 wins from 21 isn't very good at all. But 11 draws is absolutely fine. If that's what you want, if that's where you want to be, which I think is okay, which is fine. I think that is fairly acceptable. And only losing 5 is also really, really good. So with Fleetwood, I mean, if you turn some of those 11 draws into wins, absolutely, who knows where you could be. And away from home, they've been absolutely incredible. Away from home, they've been so good. They've been really difficult to break down. They've scored a goal in every single away game, which is just pretty impressive. That record might have been broken now, but I'm pretty sure that was what it was for a long period of time. And that, again, just shows their fearless mentality away from home. So fair play to them. They're very, very strong on the road. But like I say, I mean, there are definitely things to improve on there. I mean, they've got to work out how to win more games instead of drawing them. They've got to try and sort of find these sort of different ways of sort of trying to transition those draws into wins, and that's much easier said for me sat in this chair now and then going and doing it. But I believe in Scott Brown. I believe what he wants to do. I think he's a very ambitious person. He's got very, very high ambitions of where he wants to take Fleetwood as a football club. And in terms of a long-term project, this is a really good start, a really good place to be. So, and they could be higher than 16th. They really, really could. I would sort of think, based on their performances, they probably should be around 13th, which is where I got them. But a few draws, and again, the points of letting them down a little bit. But I don't mind that. I think I've done okay with Fleetwood. So next up then I had Wycombe. I got them exactly mid-table 12th. It upset Wycombe fans. I think whenever Oxford United fans speak about Wycombe fans and speak about Wycombe as their football club, it never goes down very well. But, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, similar to Cheltenham, this would have been a genius prediction. They probably have been around 11th and 12th for the majority of the campaign, but because this league is so open, they've had some really good results recently, and they've now climbed to 7th. And how Wycombe are 7th in the league after being very, very mid-table for pretty much the entire campaign so far, I will never know. And the only explanation is Wycombe one, find a way all the time, because it's what Wycombe do and what Gareth Ainsworth has installed into that football club. And secondly, a couple of good results, a good little run, and you fly up the league. It's so tight, so open, you fly up the league, and they've done that. Recent results against Portsmouth, a really good win against Ipswich as well. These are really, really good wins they've had. And they're in a really, really interesting place now, in an area in that league table where they're very used to. They're very used to being in around the top six. They've been very, very good in recent years in League One. And now, this worries me a little bit. It worries me because Wycombe could do it. Wycombe really, really could. You can't write them off. 32 points, only 2 places off the top 6. And Gareth Ainsworth and Wycombe only know this position too well. And that's why I'm feared with dread a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about it. In terms of prediction, I thought there would be a drop-off. I thought they lost some really interesting players that have been there quite a long time. Stockdale, Anthony Stewart. But it seems as though they've done okay. And they are now finding a little bit of rhythm. And that is a worrying thought. So next then we've got Oxford United. I got them 11th at the start of the campaign. We're currently 15th. Call me biased, call me optimistic. It's been a really tricky first half of the season. It's been quite painful at times. It has seen an improvement recently, and we will touch on that. But I remember right at the start of the season, I made a video breaking down the transfer window. We did not have a very good window whatsoever, and I stand by that. I know Carlton's come out in fans forums and interviews, and he said it's going to be a good window, and it might be a transfer window where you look back at the end of the season and sort of reflect and go backwards on it and go, wasn't that bad? I'm still not buying it. I'm still not completely buying it. I thought we were slow, I thought we were underprepared, I thought we were tedious, and I thought we actually set up to fail to an extent in that window. The players we were bringing in didn't fully replace, and definitely not in a short-term sense, the players that we let go. Mark Sykes, Luke McNally. Although we did replace those players, and you can sort of see the players we have brought in to replace them, it took too long. I think when we look at the sort of the really bad start to the season, which unfortunately is a tradition under Carl Robinson, it's because we didn't really know the starting 11. He didn't really know his best 11. He didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. We're flirting with systems. We tried a bit of a 3. We tried a 4. We were so sort of weirded out by the start of it. It was just really, really bizarre. I think therefore we have suffered, and we have sort of seen the consequences of a bad start to the season. But because this campaign is so open, I don't really know where we're going to be, because recently we have seen an improvement. I'm not going to be an over-the-top Oxford United fan that thinks we're going to get in that top 6, because I think that is way too much of a stretch. We're not to that level yet. You know, you look at the teams that we're facing and the teams that I sort of analyse every single week. We're not there yet. You know, we're not there yet. We're not getting results where you go, right, you've got to beat them, and we sort of draw to them, or we let ourselves down, or we switch off for 10, 15 minutes, or we're really good for 10, 15 minutes, but can't have that clinical edge and don't score. And again, I think that's probably where we're letting ourselves down going forward, which ironically is exactly the problem we didn't have last season. So there we go. And that's the beauty of being an Oxford United fan at the moment. It's sort of a little bit polar opposite to where we were last year. But again, I have seen an improvement. Sheffield Wednesday recently was much better, and their level. I think we are seeing a bit of a turnaround. We maybe are seeing the tides turning slightly, but I do come back to the fact that there are certain, even not mental barriers, but there's certain bits in our performance where you go, yeah, we're not fully there yet. Yeah, we're fully not there yet. You look at that sort of 10-minute spell where we're really good going forward, but we can't capitalise on a really good spell. Whereas other clubs, they can do it, and they'll win a game of football in that split, in that instant. So I think we are behind. However, I know this isn't a prediction video, that will be a separate episode, but I don't think I'm going to be far wrong with my prediction. I think we will be higher than 15th, but I don't think we're going to be pushing against that top 6 or probably even that top 10. I think we probably will be 11th, which is where I predicted us at the start of the season. So next then, I've got this one very wrong. Sorry, Plymouth Argyle fans, I got you in 10th. You're currently, of course, when looking at the league table, top of it. I got that 9 places wrong. Current league leaders, although recent form hasn't been very good. Across the 22 games, you've won 14, and you've been very, very good. And I thought Plymouth might be sort of hit by that real quite sucker punch end of the campaign last year, where they lost to MK Dons quite brutally, and in the end somehow missed out on the playoff place. I thought that might hit them. I thought that really would hit them. I was worried about the players leaving. I thought they might lose some really key players. I thought that they wouldn't be able to go again. They've used so much energy last season, they just have to see a bit of a drop-off. Ironically, like another side who I predicted higher than them have done quite brutally. But Plymouth have not done that. Plymouth have gone again, and they've looked even stronger this season. They've certainly, I think, learnt the mistakes they learnt from last year, and they're going to try and improve them, and they are improving them, and certainly seeing the rewards at the moment. Current league leaders, and that can't be messed with. They look very, very good, really professional, really solid. I think Stephen Schumacher just signed a new long-term deal. He's been wanted by championship clubs. He's buying into Plymouth right now. There's something quite special going on there. I expect them to be at the top end of the League One table come the end of the campaign, and I got that prediction wrong. I can only apologise. Recruitment was fantastic in the summer. We've seen that now. I got that wrong. Definitely not 10th. That is a very bad prediction. Sorry, Plymouth Argyle fans. So 9th position, I predicted Charlton. Not a great call, that one. Not a great call. Currently 18th. And I feel sorry for Charlton fans. I really, really do. Managerless at the moment. The fans don't really get along. There's a little bit of a toxic atmosphere around that football club. And also their ownership. Thomas Sangar, their CEO, and the people that run that football club on a day-to-day basis are really not getting along with the fans. And that relationship, I think, has well and truly broken down. And for that reason, on the pitch, they really, really are struggling. Ben Garner, who I think was a real centre point around the window that they had in the summer, which I stand by, wasn't horrendous. They didn't spend any money, which I think, again, does come back as a bit of a problem. But in terms of the personnel they're bringing in, they were good. They are decent players, but they definitely fitted Ben Garner. They definitely fitted him as a manager. And now he's gone, I look at that squad and go, they're clearly sort of really, really worried in terms of the fact that they've got some gaping holes there. Striker, for one, is a really big one. They didn't recruit in the summer in that area. They definitely are seeing the problems now. But that's the least of their problems. That really, really is. They're not in a very good place. And maybe a new manager could help things, but again, it's more than that. It's a structural problem. It's an ownership problem. There's far more to it than just a manager. So I think something needs to change. But that prediction, I got horribly wrong. At one point, maybe it wasn't going to be that bad, but a really bad run of form, and it's just gone downhill from there. And now it's a very big uphill battle. I think it's probably going to be a similar season to last year, which was exactly their worst nightmare. So, yeah, I feel sorry for Charlton. I got that prediction very, very wrong. Not as wrong as this one, though. In 8th, I predicted MK Dons. This is one of my bad. This is my worst one. One of the bad ones. Worst one. 14 places out. 14 places out with a prediction is very, very bad. Of course, they're currently 22nd in the league. Just sat their manager, Liam Manning. If you'd have told me at the halfway point of the season, MK Dons would be in the relegation zone without their manager that's been sacked, I don't know what I'd do to you. I'll probably laugh in your face. And that's because I was so impressed by MK Dons last year. I was so impressed with what they were trying to do there. I was impressed by the style of play, by the personnel, the manager. Everything around that football club was coming up really, really well. Now, it's the polar opposite. Absolute polar opposite. They're nowhere near the level they were last year. They've just Liam Manning. They just announced his sacking. And I definitely didn't think that was going to be the way that things were going to go. I'm sure he'll go on and have a really good career as a manager, because what he showed, particularly last season, was really, really good. But something wasn't right there. Lost the dressing room potentially. Same message. The players weren't really responding. They've just beaten Portsmouth at Fratton Park, so that bounce of a new manager going has clearly worked in MK Dons' favour. What happens with the manager, I'm not entirely sure. But in terms of a prediction, I got that so wrong. I thought their goal-scoring mentality of last year would just continue as it always would. I knew Scott Twine leaving would see a drop-off, hence why I didn't have him in the top 6. Harry Darling, Scott Twine, those players, I thought there would be a problem with them going, but I think it's going to be enough to still be there. They sort of brought in some quite cool young players that could grow and could get better and click, and with time, go on and be maybe the new Harry Darling and maybe new Scott Twine in the near future. And Liam Manning had worked under these sort of young youth development programs before and managed these younger players and got a really good tune out of them. Wasn't able to this time around, and therefore he's lost his job, and MK Dons in a really quite troubling situation. I got that one very, very wrong. Right then, Portsmouth I got in 7th. They are currently, of course, 10th. I got that 3 places wrong. Portsmouth, it's such a weird one. Describing Portsmouth's season so far, describing their first half of the season is quite a weird one, but started off really, really well. Started off firing, on all cylinders. Looked really impressive. Looked like the team to beat. Looked like top 6 was almost not guaranteed, because nothing could be guaranteed that early, but it looked like they were going to put in a serious challenge for top 6, maybe even top 2. Recent weeks, absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance at that required level. And they're playing like a side that are bottom half. They're playing like a bottom half side at the moment. I know that's quite harsh to say, but it's true. Some of the results they're getting are really, really worrying. They haven't won a game, I think, in 7. They've drawn quite a few, but they've just lost 2 games on the bounce. Lost their first game of 2022 at Fratton Park as well, which is never a nice home record to lose, especially this late on in the year. They could have kept that going, couldn't they, at least? God. But all jokes aside, it's not funny. This is a football club that have very high expectations, and at the moment they are falling short of that. And Danny Cowley's got a really, really busy January transfer window ahead of him. He's got to keep hold of some players as well, which is not going to be easy. He's got to try and keep hold of a few loan players, like Owen Dale, I think has been really promising. And he's also, he's got to turn it around because his job will be under threat. His job will be under threat in no time. And already there's murmurs of discontent there. And I worry about that because I think these Pompey fans do deserve better. Prediction-wise, I got them in 7th, just missing out. They're currently 10th. I don't know if Pompey can sneak into that top 6. And they might be able to, but they're going to have to turn it around sooner rather than later. And they've got to do it, like I say, quite quickly. And that's got to see a severe improvement. So we'll see what happens there. Prediction-wise, not horrendous, but in terms of the first half of the season, Pompey will probably see this as quite damaging first half of the campaign. Right, then moving into the first playoff place, and this is where the roll begins. My prediction roll well and truly begins, starting in 6th. Derby, current position, 6th. Prediction, 6th. Call me a genius, call me a mind reader. Derby County are, at the moment, performing to the exact level that I thought they would be. Now, of course, that can change. It's only the halfway point of the season, but I always thought Derby would be okay. I thought Derby would be okay. When I saw that takeover happen, and I saw the players they were bringing in, I thought, These lads will be fine. These lads will be fine. I knew that the adjustment was never going to be easy, hence why I didn't put them in the top 2. I thought some of the players they're bringing in, of course, in terms of technical ability, miles ahead of quite a few, most League One players. But again, that adjustment of coming down to League One, it sounds silly when you've been playing Premier League football. McGoldrick, Hurahan, these are players that are playing regular Premier League first team football very recently. But coming down to League One, again, the oppositions can set up very differently and can make it quite challenging. It's not as open as it can be in certain games, and those players have got to adjust to that more physical side of things. Not that they're not that they're physically weak. The Premier League is also a very physical, demanding league, but League One is a different breed in that. Not exactly worse, not exactly better, just different, and they have got to adjust to it. And I think Derby, they have done that. Maybe not in the exact passage of I thought they would do it. I thought Liam Rosner would be still in charge. He's not. He's now at Hull, and now Paul Warne's come in, which is very, and I still stand by it, very intelligent appointment. Maybe not the most glamorous appointment, because they could have gone and done that. They could have gone and got a really glamorous, never heard of, maybe, I don't know, from overseas, or maybe they could have gone with someone that, again, had a really, quite exciting potential as a coach, as a manager, but they've sort of gone with an experienced Paul Warne, who knows League One very, very well. And that is, I think, a really smart thing to do. Because he knows how to get the best out of League One players, how to get the best out of a League One side who want to get out of the division and want to get into the Championship. I think it's a really clever thing to do. And so far, they're doing okay. They're sort of now finding consistency. They're finding their feet. They're getting better week in, week out. The players sort of now are fitting a system that Paul Warne's installed. I think things are fairly good at Derby at the moment. So I got that one right, and I'm happy with it. And it gets even better. Bolton, I got predicted in 5th. They're currently 5th. And Bolton have had quite a weird first half of the season, because some people say it hasn't been, a full-on success, and that I think they are right in saying that there have been a level of inconsistency issues at that football club. Going forward, they haven't been as good. They have got to improve going forward. But, they're still 5th in the league, and that can't be argued with. They're in the playoff places, and they certainly are putting in, on their day, some top-notch performances. They've got to level that out. They've got to iron a level of consistency, and that will be something that Ian Evatt will know needs to happen. But in terms of being in the top 6, being in those playoff places, at the moment, they are ticking those boxes, and that can only be seen as a big positive. And I thought they'd be around 5th, and they are currently 5th. So I'm going to definitely take that. Just thing that needs to improve on. Goal scoring, end product does need to improve. Defensively, though, I've been impressed with them. Like players like Conor Bradley have come in and been a revelation. I'm really impressed by him. And I said at the start of the season, when I did the predictions originally, I'm worried maybe how players on loan from Premier League clubs can come down. And James Trafford's example of someone else who's definitely proved me wrong. That adjustment can be quite challenging. Well, they've shut me right up there because those two have been very, very key players in this Bolton Wanderers first half of the season. So, yeah, predictions right, but I got proved wrong with the players like Conor Bradley and James Chafford because they've been absolutely immense. Right then, it doesn't stop there. It gets arguably even better. 3 in a row. This is unheard of. Been watching the podcast for, we've been doing predictions now and reactions for probably about 3 years, but this is unheard of. Barnsley, fourth. Not third, that would be wrong. Barnsley, fourth. Currently fourth. Barnsley. Very, very, very good when it comes to prediction. And Barnsley have been very, very, very good in recent weeks. They've won 5 games on the bounce. They're certainly now finding a level of ruthless mentality, winning ruthless mentality, and Michael Duff now has really got his side playing some top stuff, and I was a little bit worried about Michael Duff early doors. I was worried about him maybe jumping shit from Cheltenham to Barnsley a little bit too early, a little bit too premature. Maybe he's jumped and taken on more than he's capable of. But again, he's definitely shut me right up there. And I always thought Barnsley they always were going to be in the shout for top 6. They're always going to be in a shout for promotion. They don't want to be in League One. They want to be back in the Championship. And for one reason or another, they needed a reset, needed a change. And Michael Duff was the start of that change and sort of the real the face of that change as a new manager. And I think they have now shown why they've gone and done and got him in the football club, because he looks really, really good. And the players that he brought in as well, and the players he's also integrated that were there before, are working absolutely brilliantly. 11 wins from 20 games. They have lost 6, but at the moment, their defensive record, only conceding 16 goals, is one of the best in the league. I'm pretty sure that is the best defensive record in the league. 17. They are on 16. Absolutely amazing. So fair play to Barnsley. Defensively look very, very good. Going forward as well, don't look too bad. And their recent form is definitely something to be quite excited about. They could maybe even stick higher than the playoff places. Who knows? There's a bit of a gap there now. But Barnsley, their prediction was right. And they are doing very, very well. Right, so in third, I predicted Peterborough. And they're currently not third. 5 places out, unfortunately. Peterborough letting me down. And recently that form has not been very good. Only drawn 1 game this season, but they've lost 10 games from 21. They've nearly lost half of their games. They have also won half of their games, so they are sort of finding a little bit of a balance there. But Peterborough recently have not been very good at all. 4 straight defeats. But with Peterborough, you sort of think that they'll find their feet and they'll probably have maybe make a few tweaks in January, and they'll come again and they'll look strong again and they'll find a bit of consistency and find a bit of form. That'll be the hope, and that'll be the optimistic side of the Peterborough United camp at the moment. But yeah, I think they will probably come good. Their recent form isn't very good, and you've got to be careful. You can't be sort of short-minded, look at the recent form. That's where they'll be come the end of the season, because if we did that, the league table will be how it is now. But you've also got to look and go, I think Peterborough probably will be, if not in there, certainly close. And they are close at the moment. They are close. They are 8th. And they are only 3 points off the top 6. And that form has got to change. They've got to stop losing so many games as well, which again sounds very, very horrendous when it comes from a football analysis perspective. But they're only drawing 1 game. They're losing 10. Losing 10 games is not the level of performance and results that will get you in the top 6. But that's got to be cut out. They are conceding a few too many as well for my liking. 27 isn't great. 36 isn't bad. But yeah, recent form isn't very good. And so far, they're not. I'm 5 places out. So yeah, it's not ideal. And if you sort of look at Peterborough and try and describe their first half of the season, you'd probably say at one point it looked to be very, very good. It's now looking fairly, levelling out at fairly mediocre, if not quite disappointing. Right then, moving into the top 2, the final 2 places. Who have I got in second and who is currently second? I have a spot on prediction. Who'd have thought it? Ipswich, second, of course, is where they are at the moment. I predict them to also be runners-up. And, they maybe could be hoping for a better position come the end of the campaign, and they might still go and do that. But I thought Ipswich would be up there. And again, a lot of people thought, no, everyone does it every year. Ipswich are the obvious shout all the time. They always let themselves down. But Kieran McKenna, I think, is proven to be a really exciting young manager, and he's got a really, really good squad there. They are, again, a little bit inconsistent at times. They have lost a game recently against Wycombe, and they didn't look great in that one whatsoever. But again, I think you can't just look at that game. You've got to look at the other results they've had, and the really good results they've had. They have also been really, really exciting. drawing a few too many, a few games at home when they sort of didn't have that killer instinct and kill the game off. A few other games as well, there's an example of that. But I think generally they're second in the league for a reason, and they've got a really good squad there. They're playing a really good brand of football. I think they're being quite tactically fluid. They're playing a back four at times, they're also playing a back three. They look really, really good. They could be higher than second. They'll be hoping for a position higher than second, probably, I imagine, at the start of the season. But I think generally, yeah, they're doing okay, and I'm impressed by Ipswich. I'm impressed by them, and they could be even higher than that come the end of the season. Finally, I got Sheffield Wednesday to be the title winners. I did a video saying, well, they could be my title favourites. I also did stick with my guns and get them top of the league. It's okay. It's not. I got my prediction 3 out. They're currently third. They're enjoying a season at the moment where they're certainly still for a race, and they could still finish in top spot. Still a few question marks over Darren Moore. I'm not fully buying into that. I don't know. I don't think you should be blaming Darren Moore too much. And you have been drawing a few games recently, but I think you've got to give him until the end of the season at least. It's one of those where every time something doesn't go very well, Darren Moore seems to get a lot of stick. And I get it, he is the manager, but I think you've got to buy a bit more patient with that. The moment Brad Bannon's injured and Bry's injured, so maybe we're seeing a little bit of a short-term issue there. When those two players are back, the quality of those two will certainly get them back into that sort of winning mentality and winning form they're on for quite a long time before this sort of 3-game drawing run they currently find themselves on. But they're still in a race. They're still in a really, really good race, and generally, being third in the league, they're doing something right. They've only lost 3 games this season, so clearly something is going okay at Sheffield Wednesday. So they might finish top. I don't think they're going to be favourites anymore. I thought they might be. They might finish second. I'm not entirely sure. That's for another time. Remember, 100 likes on this episode, and I will do my revised League One predictions. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Please subscribe. Something a little bit different, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Join the Discord server, all that good stuff as well. Really exciting content coming to the channel. That's all down to you. Different ideas, also let me know in there as well. But do sort of discuss, have I embarrassed myself? That's what I want to know. Have I embarrassed myself? Or how would you sum up the first half of the season in your eyes? You're the fans, you watch your team every single week. I want to hear from you. I'll be replying and responding to all of them as per usual. Until next time, I've been Jack. This has been the Unfan Podcast. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.